she was quite for another 3 to 4 minutes, and I was quite afraid, like, why she's not even asking me any further question. And the passports were returned. That means your visas were being rejected. Said that your visa is approved, and I'll keep your passports, and you'll get your passports in next 7 to 14 days. Hello friends, welcome back to the channel That Couple Abroad. Hope you must be enjoying the content that we have already put on our channel related to the H1B and H4 visa processes, documentation and question and answers. So we were left with the H1B visa process in short. So that is what I'm trying to elaborate in today's video. So let's get started. So to begin with, first of all, we have to go over the DS160 process before we can book the slots for either H1B or H4 participants. After filling the DS160 form, you can go ahead and book your slots. We will provide the link for the slot booking in the description below, like where you can go, which website you have to go and book for your slots. Because of the pandemic, the slots for H1B and H4 were quite limited in the last year specifically. But now I've seen that the slots are like open for most of the time. At least once a week it is open, and you can quickly grab a slot. I will also provide some Telegram links in the description below, which can actually help you to track like when are these slots open. Because if you keep on logging to that slot website like more than twice or thrice a day, it will get locked, and then you'll have to wait for another 24 to 48 hours to get it unlocked. So it is better to rely on the Telegram links. Also note that on the Telegram links, there are a number of brokers which might not be authentic all the time. There could be any kind of scammers also. So don't go with the brokers on the very first attempt. Just try to look for the slots at least for 3 to 4 weeks. And I believe like it is not very difficult to book the slots on your own instead of just simply going with the brokers. So first of all, like there are 5 US consulates in India, and we went with the Delhi consulate because we were more accustomed to Delhi location, and we knew how to travel and where to stay. So we booked for the Delhi location. You can go with any of the 5 locations, whichever is more accessible to you. Coming to the process that I followed, basically I and my husband, we were appearing for H1B and H4 visa interviews. We booked our slots in January 2022, and the slots that we got were for March, 30th March and 31st March. So you might be knowing that there are two different appointments. One is the biometric appointment, the other one is consular interview. So you can either take consecutive days, or you can also put a gap of 1 or 2 days, whatever is convenient to you and whatever is available. Let's say you are looking for some desired dates for the slot booking, and you're not able to see that on the website. It's better to go and grab whatever slots are available, because there is a possibility to reschedule the slots at least 3 to 4 times before paying it again. So it is better that at least you have something at hand instead of just looking for the slots blankly, because it might be possible that the slots are not coming that frequently in future. So coming to my scenario, when we were able to book the slots for H1B and H4 visa interviews, the next step was the packing for the visa interview. So there are two dimensions to it. One is the travel booking, the other one is the accommodation booking. In my case, it was done by my employer, so I had less worries on these two scenarios. In our case, like we got the biometric slot quite early in the morning, that was around 8:50 a.m., whereas our counselor interview was around 9 a.m. So instead of traveling to the location on the same day, I preferred traveling one day prior to the interview. So we booked our travel accordingly. And secondly, the like one tip for the accommodation booking, it is better to always book the accommodation which is very near to the US consulate, because it's better to arrive on time than late. Okay, now coming to the actual process. So I will be elaborating like what happened and what were the steps that we followed on our biometric and the counselor interview. Coming to the biometric interview, as I already mentioned that my biometric was scheduled at 8:50 a.m. We reached our venue, which was basically a metro station, at 8:30 a.m. Even though we were 20 minutes earlier, we saw a long queue. It was around 150 to 200 people already waiting for their biometrics before we reached. As soon as we reached there, like we were asked to basically have our passports, DS160 confirmation, visa appointment letter, and our passport size photographs available and ready to show to the security person. Now, when we reached that security personnel, he basically checked all the documents and also did a security check, like we were not having any kind of electronic devices like phone or even like any electronic watches with us. Once we passed through that security check, we were asked to move into the cabins for the biometric. So I would also like to mention that for the biometrics, it was not mandatory to have like formal kind of clothing, but we did go into formal clothing. Like I and my husband, we basically preferred light colored clothes which were properly ironed for the first day of our biometrics. Now coming to the biometric process itself, when we went inside, there were like multiple cabins, and we were given some numeric slips which basically stated which cabin we have to go while our turn comes. Secondly, for the H1B and H4 biometrics, we were not allowed to go at a single time. We were allocated different cabins. So, in case you have kids accompanying you during the interview, I believe like kids which are under 6 years of age are only allowed to go with you. Otherwise, everybody will be allocated different cabins. So, once we reach that cabin, we are asked to basically scan all our 10 fingers for the biometric purpose. Once that is done, the interviewer will take our photograph, and he might ask some basic questions like what is your name, date of birth, from which place you belong, which are like which is the employer. And secondly, once like he is satisfied with all the answers, he'll simply take your passport and put a sticker on it, and then he'll inform you that your counselor interview is on so and so date, and you have to reach on time for the counselor interview. In our scenario, the biometric process took only less than 5 minutes. And as soon as the stickers were pasted on the passport, we were asked to leave as the process was over, and we just had to appear for the counselor interview. So, in this scenario, please make sure that your passports are returned with stickers. If not, if you see any kind of issue, then please take help from any of the security personnel present over there. After the biometrics, you're free to go back to your accommodation and have some rest and be ready for the next day counselor interview or whenever it is there. So now coming to the counselor interview, there are few points that you need to take care. First of all, about your clothing. You have to be in the formal clothing on your counselor interview. So it is better like you wear some light colored, properly ironed shirts and proper formal trousers along with formal shoes. And please avoid wearing any kind of electronic gadgets and watches such as step counters, which is not basically allowed inside the embassy. Coming to the documentation, we have made separate videos on the documentation for both H1B and H4. It is better if you visit those links and take a look over the documents that are required. Although I can show you like how I took the documents along with me. So guys, this is one of the expending files in which I and my husband, we took our documents, because it is like a very systematic way of taking your documents along. I can show you the file from in between. So this is an expending file with around 13 sections. So we labeled all the section properly, like what kind of document has to go in which part. Is going to ask you for some specific document. So you should not basically keep him or her waiting. Just you can just pick up the document very quickly based on the label which is there, and just give it to the interviewer. So we will also give the link of this expending file in the description below. You can just take a look, and if you want to buy, you can buy it from there. So now coming to the counselor interview day. Basically, we had our VAC appointment on 31st March 2022 at around 9:15 a.m. We reached the venue around 30 minutes like earlier, and we did not carry along any kind of electronic gadgets like electronic watches or even our cell phones along with us. We had a driver who was waiting outside. Once our interview was over, we can like go back with him. So there was no need of phone at that point of time. So for our counselor interview, we basically had a very proper security check outside the embassy itself. There was again a very long queue, even though we were on time, we were even before time. But there was a long queue. The security person basically checked us for any kind of electronic gadgets and sharp objects. So here sharp objects could be the knife or even the kirpan. If anybody is carrying along, they will be asked to basically return it back to any of the accompanying friends or family. So it's better you should not carry any of those objects along with you. So once we passed the security check, the next step was the documentation check. Again, we were asked to like show our passports and the visa appointment letter. And once we had that security check, we were asked to move forward. When we passed the document check, there was another security check because we are going inside the embassy. So there are like strict rules, and there are a couple of security checks that happen. At that point of time, we were asked to even remove any of our jackets or even blazers that we were wearing, any of the like watches that we were wearing, even though it was not an electronic watch. If we were carrying any wallet, that was also asked to put in a container. Similarly, that happens at any kind of airports. So that kind of security check happened, and once we passed that security check, we were asked to move further inside. So now coming inside, there was a waiting area where we were like around 10 to 15 people were waiting already. So we were asked to join them, and we basically took a seat and sat over there. So in each of the queues, there were 3 to 4 people, and so whosoever was being interviewed, we were actually able to hear what were the questions and how what the interviewer was asking. And for some of the times, we also saw that some people were being given some kind of slips that were either yellow slips or blue slips, and their passports were returned. That means their visas were being rejected. So now there is no need to be worried, because there might be certain scenarios where people are failing to justify their qualifications, or their employers are not like providing all the required evidences. That's why the interviewer is like basically rejecting or giving a slip to that interviewer, and they can reappear for the interview, or they can provide the evidences and then again get back for the visa interview. So it is always advised to have all your documents readily available, whatever like we have also mentioned in our like interview videos, what are the documents that you have to carry each for H1B and H4. Please do refer to those videos. We are also giving the links in the description below. Carry all the documents and it will be all fine. So as soon as we reached that counter, we simply greeted the interviewer. In our case, the interviewer was a lady, so she greeted us back very happily. Then, as I was the H1B applicant, she asked me for the passport and I-797 document. Please note that there was a glass window between the interviewer and like us who was being interviewed. So I passed those documents through the glass window, and she started taking a look over those documents. Also, please note that the interviewer, when is asking about any questions, there is a speaker which is there in between that glass window and where you are standing. So you will be hearing the question and answers from that speaker, not from the interviewer directly, since there is a lot of noise like happening around. So please make sure that you hear the questions very well and answer it properly. So the another important point that you need to make sure is that if let's say you are not comfortable with giving your interview in English, then there is an opportunity to select any other language, maybe your mother tongue like Hindi or Punjabi, as your preferred interview language. You can fill so in your DS160 form, and on the day of interview, just whosoever is there on duty, you can ask that person to arrange a translator for you, because you have filled the other language in the DS160 form. So coming to the question and answers that happened during the counselor interview, first of all, for the H1B applicant, so the interviewer asked me few basic questions like what is my name, what is my date of birth, who is my employer, what is the line of business of my employer, who is the client for which I'm traveling overseas, what that client does, and since when I am employed with my company. After getting all the answers, she just kept looking at screen. She was looking at her PC, and she was quiet for another 3 to 4 minutes, and I was quite afraid, like why she's not even asking me any further question. So she kept looking at her screen. Maybe she was just verifying certain details. So after being quiet for 4 to 5 minutes, then she asked me to scan my fingers on the biometric machine, similar to what I did on the biometric day, but this time it was not all the 10 fingers. She just asked me to scan my right hand fingers. So the next part of the interview was the interviewer shifted over to my husband, since he was the H4 applicant. Then she asked him to pass on the marriage certificate, passport, and no other document was asked in particular. And then she asked few questions to my husband, like what is the name, what is date of birth, why is he going along with me to the US, what he is going to do, and why does he intend to come back to India. So after this round of question and answers, then she asked my husband to scan his hand for the biometrics. Now this time he was asked to scan all the fingers of his left hand. So that was all for the interview. After like scanning the fingers, she just said that your visa is approved, and I'll keep your passports, and you'll get your passports in next 7 to 14 days officially. So after that, we received our passports around I think in the very next week, after 5 days. As soon as the passports arrived with the visa stamped, I informed my employer that I've got my visa stamped passports back, and now it's the time to book the tickets and travel. So we were planning for our traveling and whatever we had to pack for USA. So as we all know that packing is such a big challenge, right? We all want to bring everything along with us, but that is not possible. We do have a limited luggage as per the airlines that we are going to choose. In the coming weeks, we will definitely share our experience on packing, and also the things that you should definitely bring from the country where you are traveling to the USA. Hope you have found this video useful. Do like, share, subscribe, and comment. If you have any questions, then please do leave a comment in the comment section below, and I'll try my best to help you out. So for this video, I'm signing off. Please take care and a good luck for your interview.